Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure responding to some of the work in the British Art Show. I'd come here and I'd been looking around the art show way before I knew that I was going to have to write about it. So it was really interesting seeing how I formed certain impressions or was drawn to certain pieces, and then came and looked at things differently when I knew that I was going to write about it. And maybe I was drawn to things that were slightly more hidden perhaps. But one work of art that really stood out to me from the beginning was this by Stuart Whipps, The Kipper and the Corpse. That was really fascinated by the idea of responding to Longbridge in 1979. With all of these pieces, I'm not going to say too much about the work itself because I know you'll already have your own impressions or you're going to form them later. So I'll just mainly read the poems as responses to them, really. And some of them are more close, some of them are quite tangential responses. Sometimes I was thinking about possible narratives or stories that could relate to some of the themes, and others were a bit more specific about a particular detail. But I'll start with this one. And I suppose I was born in 1985, but 1979 and the idea of that year as a really defining year made me start thinking about the idea of birth and about different things that happened in 1979. So that's the first piece that I'll read in response to the Kipper and the Corpse. And I unoriginally called it 1979. And I suppose I was thinking about the voice of this slightly reconstructed Minnie when I was writing this poem. 1979. I was born in the fist of an Atlantic storm. I was born in the first year of Thatcher's Britain. At Longbridge, I was pieces, lifted and forged. I was born the year they killed Mountbatten, the year Saddam Hussein came to power and Idi Amin was deposed in Uganda. My birth was exact. Someone logged the hour. I was born to peace. I was born to anger. I was born as the word Rhodesia finished and Sid Vicious died from an overdose. There was snow in the desert for 30 minutes, a plane in flames, a field outside Chicago. I was born in the year of the first Walkman, the first nudist beach on the south coast. I was built to run. I wasn't built for talking. I was built by men who still believed in oaths. I wasn't born a shell, but I grew into one. The factory closed. I put a match against my skin. I was here for a moment, then I was gone. I was born just once. I'm waiting to begin. You can see the second piece that I responded to. I'm really interested in, there's a fantastic book by the Scottish poet and writer Kathleen Jamie called Findings, and there's a great chapter in it where she talks about being in cities and not noticing the things that are at the skyline and not noticing things that are up high. And I found that it took me a while to notice this piece by Nicholas Deshays when I was walking around until I started looking up properly. I was so busy looking at things on my eye level that I didn't notice this one. But when I did, I was really drawn to it, and the idea that these are panels that you get on underground trains, and that the way they're arranged makes it look a bit like blood under a microscope. So I suppose I started thinking about intimacy and strangers and the way that we're crowded together with people all the time, but we don't know anything about them, and we're also sort of a bit frightened of that, I think. Or that's certainly how I feel in London. So I just wrote this poem, which is called Tube, and it's after Vein Section by Nicholas Deshays. It goes like this. You take the only free seat on the tube, sit opposite a stranger in a fake fur jacket, trainers Tipex white, too clean for walking in. You note the pebbles of her knees, her hair falling apologetically. You look at everything except her face. But as the train slows down, jolts back to speed, you feel as if the carriage lights are scrutinising you. You start to think about your hands bunched heavy on your lap, the blood inside your fingertips, the taste of your own breath. And when you look ahead, your eyes will meet hers briefly, and you'll look away too fast, because you know she's seen inside your body after all, because you're suddenly afraid, your open mouth, a telescope. Last poem I'm going to read up here is written about, which is the sleeve and twig part of this interesting array of different materials on the far wall, which is another one that I got drawn back to when I was looking around. And I've just written a very short response to the sleeve in particular. And it doesn't even have a title yet because it's more of a fragment. I was thinking about the idea of that phrase that people use a lot about wearing your heart on your sleeve. And I turned it around slightly for this untitled poem. I'm wearing my sleeve on my heart again, and the last branch left on a winter tree, still clothed, beaded with last night's rain, below the red sky's make-up artistry. I'm wearing my sleeve on my heart again. You can see how well the fabric sits. I'm a midnight platform, empty train, the cap you never thought would fit. The last piece that I'm going to read is inspired by the eyes, which is downstairs. And it's quite a nice link because, as you can see, there's also some of vein section in here as well. The eyes was probably one of the first things that I noticed when I was looking around the British Art Show. And I didn't notice that they were eyes at first. I found that really interesting. I kind of had to get up close, and then I realised that it was fabric as well. And I just thought it was really, really striking. And there's been a dance performance that was part of this as well, which I wish I could have seen, that goes with it. So it's already had quite a lot of different responses from different artists. But the piece that I wrote for this, and the last one that I'll read, is about the idea of surveillance, I suppose. I was thinking about that thing that they always say about paintings where the eyes follow you around the room. And it struck me that these eyes are probably more powerful than that because they're quite incredible, really. And I thought they'd probably be more all-seeing than that. So I was thinking about the idea of secrecy, I suppose, and trying to stare yourself out. So this one's just called The Eyes, after Diagrams of Love, Marriage of Eyes by Linda. They don't just follow you around the room. They track you as you duck out of the gallery into a greeting mist of rain, then hurry to the station with a scarf half covering your hair and meet someone you shouldn't underneath the glare of the announcement boards. They look out from his contact lenses as he nods goodbye, then wink at you from the face of every platform stranger pacing in the cold, observe you from the folded metro with its chip shop smell, and when your train glides solemnly into the tunnel, slowly delivering you home, they level back at you, parchment-coloured, startling in the blackness of the glass, as you sit still and silent, staring yourself out again, wondering who'll blink first. Thank you very much, and thanks to everyone at Leeds Art Gallery for asking me to respond to some of these. It's been a really, really interesting journey, and it's made me think totally differently about the work in the British Art Show, and about what I couldn't write about as well as what I could, actually. So yeah, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening as well. Thanks.